Hello and welcome everyone to the Sportstar podcast, where we have special guest today, Mr. RB Ramesh, and I have with me my senior colleague, Mr. Rakesh sir. And today we are going to discuss about something historic that has happened last week. Gukesh, the 17-year-old young Indian, became the youngest ever candidates winner. And without further ado, I'll give the mic to Rakesh sir.
Thank you so much, Mayank, for having me on the show today. Well, today is a big day because the whole country is talking about chess for a change in the times of IPL. And that is thanks mainly to how the Indians did in the recently concluded Candidates chess tournament. Of course, the icing on the cake was obviously the triumph of Gukesh, who beat the field of 8 individuals. That is like he was seeded 6th. Now, just to put things into perspective, a 6th-seeded guy with 3 or 4 guys who were seeded higher than them, all in the top 10 of the world, and he comes out stronger and half a point ahead of this slot. So that itself speaks for itself. And to talk about it, we have one grandmaster, the only one of his kind in the country, who not only has done well for himself in his career as a player, but I think his contribution is absolutely out of this world when it comes to producing champions and just guiding a whole lot of young Indians. And of course, whose coaching abilities have been hailed by none other than Magnus Carlsen himself. And he himself has taken his services in his country. I'm talking about RB Ramesh, who is also known as the coach of Pragnananda and R. Vaishali. These two did exceptionally well, but then all this got into the background just because somebody did even I don't want to say that Gukesh did a shade better. I think he did phenomenally well. So let's talk about it and let's hear it straight from Ramesh. Ramesh, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hello, Rakesh. Thank you for the opportunity.
So your first reflections on how it was for you, about Gukesh to start with.
Yeah. First of all, it was an excellent out-of-the-world performance by Gukesh, I should say, and winning the tournament ahead of so many stalwarts, so many favorites on paper, and accomplishing it with a flourish. It was a phenomenal job, and being the youngest participant and to achieve this, it's really phenomenal. And full congratulations to him and his team. They have done a wonderful job.
Yeah. Mayank, over to you.
Yes, sir. Sir, ahead of the tournament, like we had 5 players, 5 Indians for the first time in history after Vishwanathan Anand. So, overall, we had a chat during the Chennai Grandmaster tournament where we were talking about the prospectus of all 5. At that time, we were talking about 4 Indians because Gukesh and Arjun were still in the running. So, like ahead of the tournament, you had any sense of, did you feel that, with the likes in the tournament with the likes of Yan Nepomniachtchi, Hikaru Nakamura, Fabiano Caruana, like a 17-year-old Indian would, go ahead and, beat them all and to win the championship? Like you had any, were you expecting this?
Okay. In general, like my philosophy is I try not to predict the future with whatever limited knowledge we have. We can only make a guess or a wish, and there's no likelihood that they could in fact happen in reality. But having said that, my feeling before the event was that it could go either way. On the one hand, my pre-tournament favorites were it was either going to be Hikaru or Fabiano. Because these two are exceptionally strong players. But the downside with Hikaru is like he's also doing extremely active in the streaming arena. And so that could mean like it's like a 50-50. It could either click well for him or it may not. And Fabiano, I expected him to be very consistent throughout the tournament. And so I would have given slightly more chances for Fabiano over Hikaru for this factor. He's very focused on his playing career. And if I had to give an outside chance to others, I was expecting it will be either Pragnananda or Gukesh. And among the two, I felt both could do exceptionally well and win the tournament, or in Gukesh case, it could go very bad as well, because it's like he's more of how to say Virender Sehwag kind of player. He could hit a 300 or it may not go well. So that chance was always there. And Pragnananda, he's more steady than Gukesh in style. And if he could win more games, then it could go his way. That was my reading. Like Prag usually loses less, but if he could win more, the tournament could go his way. In Gukesh case, he should cut down on his losses if he's managed to do that, because he has the capability to win more games. So he will get the points. But the thing is, like, he should cut down on the losses. And in this tournament, he did it beautifully well. He defended few tough positions and lost only one game. And with so many number of wins, deservingly won the tournament.
I have a small question, sir. Like, as if we have to draw parallels between, Pragnananda and Gukesh, as you have said that Prag is someone who is like very stable, very solid, and we have seen in the first half of the tournament that he's been taking a lot of draws, and he looked very solid while he was playing. On the other hand, we had Gukesh, who was also stable in the first half of the tournament, and majority of his wins came against players who were ranked in the bottom half of the table eventually. So if you have to differentiate between the style of these two players, can you just like talk us about both of their styles?
Yeah, in the candidates, with regard to Pragnananda, he scored 2 wins in the first 6 games and a loss against Gukesh. And so he was on +1 after 6 rounds, which is quite healthy. And a few more wins without any loss in the last 8 rounds. He could have finished much higher, but he had 2 losses. So that set him back, and there were no wins for him in the second half. So I think that was the major thing that pulled him down. And in these tournaments, if you have to finish at the top, one, you have to cut down on the losses, and 2, you need to get the wins. So that did not happen for Prag in the second half. And with regard to Gukesh, his performance has been phenomenal. He had only 1 loss, that was against Alireza, that came in the 7th round. And he himself has said in the interview that setback with 1 rest day to handle the consequences, it actually motivated him to do even better in the second half. And he came after the 7 rounds, he scored 3 wins against Vidit, Nijat, and Alireza. So those 3 wins meant he could put a distance over his competitors. So I think this was the result-wise how I look at it. And coming to the playing style, as I mentioned, the Gukesh is more he has a lot of self-belief. He believes that he's very strong and he is destined to be a world champion. So that self-confidence is fantastic. And having that at such a young age, it gives you tremendous strength. And it puts your opponents at a certain disadvantage because you are playing someone who is almost fearless, you can say. And that's not a very pleasant feeling to play an opponent who has such a feeling when you play against him. And the second, playing style-wise, he doesn't experiment too much on his openings. He's just sticking to his strengths, and he has not yet fully revealed his team because he's still in the contention for the World Championship title. So probably he will retain his team, and so did not want to go public, which is very understandable. So he has a very efficient team, which is giving him positions which is true to his style. So kudos to his team. And regarding his playing style, he is capable of taking a lot of risks to play for a win, and even against strong opposition. That just shows the strength in character and the self-assurance he has. So that's a very positive quality. And as I mentioned, with this style, it could go either way. And that is probably the reason why Magnus also in his pre-tournament predictions, he did not rate Gukesh highly, because if things go wrong, then it could go wrong very badly as well. And in general, candidates and the top guys are very stable. It's they're not going to give you chances if you give them bad positions. If you get into trouble, they're not usually going to give you chances. So that's what he was probably expecting. But Gukesh, he controlled his game much better in this tournament. He was not taking undue risk, and he was only taking valid risks, I should say, and it paid off very well.
Rakesh, sir, over to you.
For me, Ramesh, I was just curious to ask you one thing. What is it that Gukesh did in those, in those particular games where you saw a different Gukesh? That is something that the world hadn't seen. We all know that he takes his chances. He can lose a good number of games, but then he also has shown that he can hit back. But did we see something different there? Something that the world of chess hadn't seen of Gukesh in the past?
I think he has brought in more stability in his games because and also like he defended a few very difficult moments, like against Fabiano. It looked like he is completely lost, huge trouble, but he managed to save. And there were a few other very good saves as well. And these crucial half points are very important. For example, in the case of Pragnananda, when he was playing against Nepomniachtchi, he got a completely winning position right out of the opening. It was a very good opening preparation. And he got like more than +2 winning advantage just out of the opening. And he had like much more time on the clock. But the conversion was not happening. It ended in a draw. And that led Nepo to get into the lead. And it is these small moments that make a huge impact eventually, because when you get a winning position and you are not able to convert, it's kind of could put some doubts in your head. So yeah, and in case of Gukesh, this was not happening. When he was getting good positions, most of the time he was converting it. And in case of Vidit, we could see how things were happening to him. There were many winning positions and he was not able to convert. And it shows a lot of doubts in your head about your current form. That was not happening to Gukesh. And so he was not converting the better positions he was getting. He was converting. And two, he was also saving the bad positions. So he was getting extra half points either way. So from both where he gets into trouble and also when he is in the advantage. So this is one thing that was special in him. And in this tournament, as I said, he was more steady, more solid. He was not very reckless in his decisions. He was taking calculated risk. So he was able to moderate his emotions much better in this tournament. And he was fully in control. That usually happens when you're in good form to all the players. So it all comes down to nerves. So how you handle the missed chances, the disappointments, and both in terms of whether you are saving the worst positions or whether you're converting the slightly better positions. If that is not happening, and when you get these doubts, how you deal with it in your mind is very crucial. And in my view, Gukesh handles it much better than everyone else.
And one thing about, I wanted your reflections on this unusual thing about 40 moves, 2 hours, no increment. Did that have an impact on at least a couple of individuals who are not used to this era?
I think many games from what I could see, I'm not sure if the time shown in the websites were correct. And in many games, like I was actually sleeping because it was quite late at night in India. And I was watching many times at 5 in the morning when most of the games are already over. So only a few games I could watch till 2 in the morning and so on. So from that perspective, yes, this time control, it was first asked from the players whether they are fine with this time control, and most of them agreed. So it was something which the players knew what they were getting into. And in case of Prague, we did play a few games to get him used to not having that extra 30 seconds in the last part of the game. So make him play some interesting positions with less time and no increment on the clock to get adjusted to that. I believe most top players would have done the same as well. But at this time control, it also contributed to probably few decisive games happening because of that 30 seconds not being there. For example, Alireza bet Gukesh. Gukesh had a very good position with the black pieces. And when it looked like he is going to convert, suddenly tables turned and Alireza won. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gukesh even lost on time, but it was like a net in one anyway. So it did contribute to few more decisive results. Yeah, very interesting time control, but probably we need to come up with such creative ideas to produce more decisive results at this high level.
And one thing again, I want to know, like your views when there was this first encounter between Gukesh and Prague, and the way Prague started, he was all over him. Did you feel that Prague could have seen that winning line a little sooner, or like
Yes.
he was just going in so deep into it that he just happened to take the wrong turn?
Yeah, I discussed this with him after the game was over, what actually happened, because till a very large moment into the game, we were actually in our preparation. And suddenly he went astray. And so I asked him what happened. He said like he had to check a lot of lines because Gukesh could play a few other openings as well, apart from what he did in that game. So we have no way of predicting where our opponent will go in this particular game. We can only make a educated guess from our experience and how we read the player. So he had to prepare for like 2 or 3 main openings, and everywhere we have many good ideas, but it's a lot of material to go through in a few hours before the game. So he actually went through a lot of material before the game, and the line which Gukesh chose was not in the main ideas in our material. So it was buried kind of deep. It was not the best continuation from black. So it was more of like, we don't expect that to happen in the game. But when that happened, he could not remember the moves, and he went in the completely wrong direction. And the problem is like these positions are extremely complex. And if you see, like this is what happened in the game against Nepo as well. So you have to prepare a lot of stuff and you get the position. And what could happen is like when we play a lot of moves theory from our preparation, like 20 moves, let's say, then our mind is not sufficiently warmed up to start thinking in a qualitative manner. So in cricket, if you see like when there is a big partnership between 2 batsmen, and the next batsman has to come out to play, they will be like stretching the body, right? When they come walking to the pavilion, to the batting stand, they do a lot of warm up to the body, because you are sitting probably and watching, and suddenly you have to run, twist the body to hit the shots and so on, and the body may not cooperate. So you have to get warmed up very quickly. So probably a few singles will get the blood flowing. So similarly, like when you play a lot of theory, it is very much possible that your brain is using only the memory aspect of your intellect and not the analytical aspect of your brain is not yet active. So, and this was quite visible in both these games, both against Gukesh and Nepo. He played a lot of moves from memory, and suddenly he has to think because the opponent deviates, and the brain is not coming up with the best moves. And so this is one learning experience. So I suggested a few things to him to avoid similar scenario in the coming rounds. And I believe, I think this win over Prague also very early on would have given a huge confidence boost to Gukesh, because
Yes.
both are kind of going neck to neck in terms of rating before this tournament.
Rakesh sir, can I?
Yeah, please. I was just
Yeah.
about to hand it over to you. Yeah.
Sure. So, Ramesh sir will deviate a bit ahead before going to the women's category. A word on Vidit, because we have seen how, he has changed his style a bit. I mean, he was able to beat Hikaru not once but twice with both colors, but he had few crushing losses as well. Magnus said ahead of the tournament that like the possibility of him having a bad tournament is a bit higher than him having a good tournament, and this exactly held true for his case, especially. So, like, how did you assess his performance in the candidates?
Well, Vidit is a fantastic player, very strong strategically. Overall, he is kind of a complete player. He can play end games very well. He can play positional chess very well. He has very good, lot of ideas in opening. He has a good team, experienced team helping in opening preparations, and he can play complicated questions as well. But it has always been like, in the last few years, there is always this factor that he many times the positions he gets and the outcomes, they are not matching. So he can get good positions and go on to lose the game, uh, or from a drawing position he loses all of a sudden, and it kind of becoming like a pattern. And the fact that in social media also people notice and discuss this could have an impact as well, because even if you want to forget it, others keep reminding. So that's one of the reason I generally tell my students to avoid social media, so that you don't get reminded of your negatives or abuses in the middle of a tournament, because you have enough to deal with on your plate as such. So you don't want more complications. Yeah, in this tournament, he lost 5 games, and many of those games he did not deserve to lose at all, but still that happened. So it's inordinate amount of losses that pulled him back, and he still managed to win 3 games, but 5 losses is a bit too much at this level. So fantastic player. I wish he's uh, able to draw the right lessons from this tournament and come back stronger.
Speaking about learning from losses, we have to speak about Vaishali. She had 1.5 point in the first 7 round. She had a like terrible first half, but the way she recovered in the second half, she scored 6 out of 7 rounds, if I'm not wrong. She had six. Yeah,
5 back-to-back wins in the last 5 rounds.
yes, 5 back-to-back wins. She matched Susan Polgar record in the candidates. She emulated her 5 consecutive wins. So, while speaking to Rakesh sir in the last podcast, he gave me an insight that she is a player who's dependent on momentum. Like and she also said that if she is like losing, it's a bit difficult for her to stop that momentum, and same goes for her when she is winning. So how happy are you with her result? Because she eventually finished joint second. However, the tie breaks, pushed her down to fourth position. So how
Yeah.
happy are you with her play?
Yeah, in the first 5 rounds, she did reasonably well. She was on 2.5 out of 5. It was a very steady start. And usually such players don't get a steady start. It's either good or bad. It goes this side or the other side. So in her case, it was a solid start in the first 5 rounds. And then a series of 4 losses happened. And generally, like she's not coming back after a defeat is not her main strength, I would say. And 4 losses was a bit too much. And in the 5th round also, she was almost in a last position as well. And then she, in the very end, she turned the tables. Luck was on her side in that game. But you do need such breaks because it tells you the tide is turning your way. And it's kind of an indication when you win such games, which you believe it's totally beyond your out of your hands. And the way she finished the tournament, and she won against very strong players. She was not. Uh, um, it was not just like she was beating weaker players, but her last 5 round opponents, apart from Salimova, it's like Goryachkina, Anna Muzichuk, Lin Tingy, and so it was a fantastic comeback, and really happy to see that she could win 5 games in a row. I hope this puts things in perspective, and not just for her, but for all the players. Because when you feel good in your head, it reflects in your performance, and when you feel miserable inside yourself, it can affect your quality of thinking, the mood, and your performance eventually. So it is very important to insulate ourselves when things go wrong, to become too pessimistic about ourselves. So how to insulate is something I hope the players will put more effort to deal with.
Rakesh sir, over to you.
See, for me, Vaishali's thing, Ramesh, from being just a few moves away from losing a fifth straight game, from there, the way she, turned things around, obviously, luck was favoring her big time. Because if you recall that game against, that game against Alexandra, that game could have ended in a draw. And this Russian girl decided not to repeat the moves. And then she went on to lose that game. And at the end of it, what we have is that Vaishali has victories over the 2 Russians. She has beaten the defending champion. And she beat, besides that, I think, sorry?
Lano. Yeah, she beat Li Tingy, Lano, Anna Muzichik, Goryachkina.
Yeah. To beat a former world championship runner-up as well. So out of those 4, you had 2 Russians, a defending champion, and that out of those 2 Russians, one was the top seed. So I mean, when you look at the kind of resumes that these 4 girls had out of these 5 victims, that is phenomenal. And for somebody who doesn't get, she hasn't yet created opportunities to play with the top, the elite of the women's this thing. For that matter, I think Vaishali's performance needs to be hailed a lot more. I mean, whichever way we see it, everything seems to have drowned in this euphoria of Gukesh winning it. But I think that was the reason why when this tournament started, when we were, talking about whether we should carry 1 report or 2, I said, no, let's just go with 2 separate reports. I think very few newspapers or news organizations have chosen to file 2 different ones, mail, and for, one for the open, one for this, so that we can at least highlight this. Otherwise, mostly what happens, we just add 1 line saying in the women's section, blah, 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 whatever. But at least in this case, we could highlight that. So, and thanks to, Vaishali for giving us that reason. Now, what do you think about Humpy? Because Humpy, I thought, in my view, it was like she had the game to win this tournament. She was not just participating. She was there. Her head-to-head record against all the leading players was fantastic. She had the experience. And I think she had a lot of things going her way. But I think her start was too slow. And she didn't show us the cutting edge which she normally has, Sometimes it was a little, blunt, so to say. What's your view on this?
Yeah, regarding Humpy, having become a mother and not playing too actively, unlike the young girls, but she has been India #1 for, I don't know, for how many years, probably more than a couple of 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years.
Yeah, it's not a small thing. So full congratulations. I'm a huge fan of her. She has been leading from the front for so long. And having said that, she had a kind of a very tough start. In the first 6 rounds, she lost 2 games, and that too against one of the losses was against the bottom seed Salimova. Yeah. So 2 losses in the first 6 rounds and 4 draws is not a pleasant start. It can be quite depressing. But then she bet Vaishali and got a revenge against Salimova with the white pieces in the 11th round. And in between, she kind of steadied her ship, made many draws, and got these 2 wins, which put her in 50% score. And in the final round, she bet Li Tingji and came up to +1. So very good recovery, not easy at this age, and having -2 and to come to +1 with 3 wins in the remaining games, very, very creditable, shows the mental toughness in her. She could bring it out at the crucial moment. And what I felt was, I messaged Vaishali, like, if there had been 2 or 3 more games, maybe Vaishali could have even won the tournament, probably along with Hampi, because the way they both were making a strong comeback in the second half. But already the tournament was over at this point. But full credit to both Vaishali and Hampi for making this awe-inspiring comeback.
Yes, Mayank.
Rakesh, sorry, Ramesh sir, I want to know more about, Tan Zhongyi, because again, she comes from China, and China has, been producing a lot of, quality world-class world championship players. But the way she had dominated, the women's category, she had almost, won the tournament with 1 round to spare. But Lei Tingji was constantly, giving her competition. But, overall, if you have to assess, what's your assessment of Tan Zhongyi?
No, she has been playing phenomenal chess recently, and in this tournament it was no different. And so both in men and women section, the winners Gukesh and Tan Zhongyi, they both had scored +4. That is 9 points, and they both had won 5 games. That shows very high winning percentage. That is very important. To win such a strong event, you need to win more than others. And they both did it wonderfully well. They both won 5 games. And in both the cases, they had lost just 1 game. So also reflects how stable they were in this crucial tournament. So it's going to be quite interesting in having 3 Chinese fighting for the World Championship title and 1 Indian. It has become all Asian affair now, and I hope 1 Indian, we will have an Indian World Champion before this year.
Okay, and how happy are you with the prospect that India might host its World Championship for the second time in probably 11 years? So I mean,
yeah, so I remember very well in 2013 when Anand played against Magnus, but by then the scenario was very different. It was comparatively older Anand and young Magnus, and Anand was the defending champion, and the upcoming Magnus was the challenger, and it was happening in India. But this time it's the other way. We have a young upcoming Indian as the challenger, and comparatively older. Ding is 32 years old. So it's the tables have turned. We have young, hungry Gukesh trying to unseat comparatively older Ding. And Ding also has been struggling with this form in the last few months. So it is generally believed in many players' views I've read in social media and also spoken to. It's like whoever wins the candidates will probably be the world champion, because no one is expecting Ding to put up a tough fight in this competition. I am not sure. I just wish whatever emotional challenges he is going through, he is able to sort them out in time and get back to his old form. Because at this form, he is going to find it extremely tough to play against a hungry Gukesh, well-prepared Gukesh. And we have already shown We have already shown in 2022 our organizational capabilities, hosting the Chess Olympiad in Chennai. It was done in a very exemplary manner. So we have the organizational skills, and I hope ASF and India gets the opportunity to host the World Championship and produce the world champion in our soil.
Yeah, Rakesh, sir, you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to add, to what Ramesh had just said. He mentioned that both champions, they scored equal number of wins, they had the same number of points, and so on and so forth. And one very interesting factor: both were born on the same day, in the sense that they share their birthdays. This is one record which will be very hard to beat. To have both these tournaments under one roof and to see two people who share their birthdays emerge, as the challengers. So okay. Apart from that, of course, then again, organizing a chess match, it doesn't necessarily mean, it is much more than having a table, two chairs, and a set with a clock. It is much more than that. So, of course, the stakes are high. You have to also work towards the prize money thing, which FIDE offers, yes, but then a part of it has to be borne by the host. So the stakes are high. But Ramesh, this is where I felt, because I was there in 2013, and Anand, when he was leaving that hotel after the prize distribution, the face said it all, because he thought, he later on also hinted that holding a tournament in Chennai wasn't a great idea, not because he couldn't win it, because of the pressure that he had. He had to avoid eye contacts with people during the match. That means from the beginning of the match till the end of the match, he had to consciously avoid, because even the waiters would come and say, Vishy, go for it, He doesn't want that. So there'll be a lot of pressures as well. And Gukesh is young. And I also hope that the kind of reception that he has received, this is unbelievable. At 3 o'clock, poor chap, he is, jaded. The guy he's being pulled and pushed around. That was like, we really went over the top. But at the same time, holding it in India, personally, I don't think it's a great idea. Yes, more and more people will be able to go and watch him in person, go and play. But given the kind of pressure that this game brings on you, because it's such a mental sport, so I don't know, but let's hope for the best, and let's hope that Gukesh is able to handle it. If it is happening in his hometown, it will be enormous pressure on him.
Yeah, I understand the concerns you are raising, and they are very valid. And in fact, when I was also one of the commentators during the match, and I could see it was very obvious to everyone watching that Anand was feeling the heat of the match being hosted. It was happening in his hometown, and it was affecting him from many angles, right from the press conference, the kind of questions being thrown at him by the reporters. So, and also, as you mentioned, the people from the hotel, they could all give some reactions, which is not probably healthy or unsolicited. But I have seen Gukesh, like a few tournaments, especially during Vacancy and WR Masters, etc. He just prefers to keep to himself during tournaments. So he's not someone like who will socialize a lot during the tournaments. So in that sense, he is probably better prepared for a match in hometown or happening in India. So we just have to make sure that the reporters who are credentials are thoroughly verified, so that we should not get very insulting questions, judgmental questions, leading questions from the journalist to the players in such an important match. And if that is going to happen, I would just expect Gukesh to avoid the press conference altogether, or just pick 3 or 4 journalists and only give them opportunity to ask questions, or just have someone who will filter the questions before it is put forward to him. Maybe this kind of thing can be organized very easily. And regarding people from the hotel staff or anyone else, you could just hire a huge suit or few suits and kind of live in a very closed ecosystem, if that is what he prefers to. But having the game in India would do world of good for the popularizing the game, because there is a high chance that he could become a world champion, and that happening in India will take the game to very next level. More money, more awareness, more recognition for the game and the players will happen. So, and so if we can insulate Gukesh from whatever things that could negatively affect him, I think
Distract him, yeah.
the federation and the society should take care that doesn't happen in our home soil. Like when the match was organized in Bulgaria for Topalo, I believe like he was very well protected by the local ecosystem.
Great.
Very valid
Thanks.
point. Yeah, very valid point, sir. One very interesting question from Lavanya we have. I mean, it's on the same lines as in, she said that like this Gukesh's win plus the celebration or the amount of recognition Pragnananda also got after his World Cup, achievement. He eventually lost to Magnus in the final. But I mean, she asked that. What do you think the impact of this celebrity culture would be on chess, and largely for the introverted personalities like we have seen Gukesh, or like for that matter all chess players a bit of introverted personalities. So how do you see this? This question is for both Rakesh sir and Ramesh sir.
Yeah, can I go first, Rakesh?
Yeah, Ramesh, you go first.
Okay, so I wouldn't say like chess players are introverted people per se, but that is how they are in public, especially during a tournament. Now, I have interacted with many players, both as a player and as a trainer, and most of them, especially the young generation, they are very jovial people who socialize very well. But the thing is like the stakes are extremely high. Now you could see like what is possible if we perform well. Like we have Gukesh, who is playing for the world championship title at such a young age. Now this is the possibility, and this is the opportunity which the players have. And for example, like Prague, when he won the came second in the FIDE Candidates FIDE World Cup last year. So this is the kind of achievement these players are capable of delivering. And for performing at such a high level against such tough competition, you need to be extremely focused. Especially these are young teenagers, and there are many things that can take away their attention away from the game because of their teenage. And also, I know many players who have thrown away the career for such a high quality reason, like playing video games. Can you believe? uh, so we have lost many strong players because they couldn't overcome their temptations. I'm just giving an example, and there are various other reasons as well. And there are still players who are addicted to watching TV serials, video games, and too much into socializing during a competition. It takes your energy and focus away from the tournament. So they are kind of forcing themselves to be like this. And during the competition, that is when all the eyes are on them, and they project the image that they are very introvert, which is probably not good from media perspective. Probably they would prefer something like someone like Anish Giri or Hikaru, who are very outspoken, or Magnus. But Indian culture, like when we try to focus, we kind of withdraw ourselves. So that is also probably playing a part. But away from the tournament, these children are very socializing.
Yeah,
Rakesh?
Rakesh sir?
Yeah, see, over the years, I mean, having seen about 40, 45 years or even more of Indian chess and Indian chess players, I think that the current generation, as Ramesh said, is a lot different. Earlier, the way the chess players carried themselves, it was almost, I mean, I'm consciously using this word, shameful. It was almost shameful to see some of the players playing National A, which was our premier event, limited to 14 players, And you just look at them even after the, I mean, even if we consider the fact that they were working in good organizations, be it railways, be it petroleum, be it nationalized banks. But the way they came to the tournament hall, wearing slippers and, crushed t-shirts, not taking shave, not even combing their hair, and they were playing for the national crown. Now, those days you don't see anymore, luckily. Because they used to think we are here to play chess. We are not here to do fashion. The word fashion was used very loosely during those days. Forget about confidence of speaking to the media. Media was seen as somebody they couldn't trust. I've gone through that entire process of some of the leading names from Indian chess not trusting the media. They used to think, why is he asking questions? So from those days, we have come a long way. And today, what you see, if you look at players like Hari, Vidit, Tanya, even when you see people like Arjun, Gukesh, Prag, when they are talking, they don't give you the impression that they are scared of the media or they are scared of speaking. They are getting to be more and more articulate. Of course, their responses are measured, which is fine. Like Anand was one of the finest spokesperson of Indian chess. And again, I'm using this very, very, very consciously, because what he did when he spoke about Indian chess or chess in general was brilliant, because people heard him. Even to this day, people listen to him when he speaks. So chess players over a period have evolved, because this is a new generation. And they also know how to deal with attractions as well as distractions. They know that they live in a very different world. But now they choose to be on the social media, or they choose not to be. They can always switch on and switch off. But yes, this kind of welcome, which we saw for Prague in August, and then later on, of course, recently, makes me feel good. Yes, that there are people who are willing to, go there at 2:33 in the morning and get our champion mobbed and stuff like that. I was just wondering, what were we going to do any different? Are we even thinking of doing anything different if we had to win a tournament like the World Championship and come back to India? It'll be on similar, lines. What more can you do? This was crazy. But the fact is, we are Indians. We believe in showing our emotions, so it is fine. But as long as the players don't get affected by it, because they're not used to it. A cricketer he gets used to it even when he's playing his first season of IPL. If he makes an 8-ball 20, he'll be mobbed the moment he steps out of that stadium. But these guys are not used to it. So, and these guys are still young. We are talking about young brains, which are, these guys are still going through the age where it's a very, very impressionable age. Now, for you to have that control, of course, these guys are not acting like 17-year-olds. They are acting like full-grown men. Look at the choices they make. Look at the choice of words when they speak. Every sentence is so carefully worded. So this is not the usual 17-year-old which we are all used to. This is a new India, a new generation. They think differently. But of course, that was my fear, my apprehension, that this shouldn't stay for too long with these individuals. And most probably they have a way of dealing with it. They will just keep it aside and focus on their next game, next move. So yes, things have changed. But overall, I think this is a very mature, lot with Arjun, Vidit, Prague, and then of course not to forget some of the other names also. Like Mendonca is there. Then then you also have
Sadhwani, Vaishali.
Nihal is there. Nihal has just gone off the radar a bit, but he has been there for a bit now. And then, of course, among the girls, you have Vaishali topping the charts there. So you have this young crowd, which is also capable of speaking well. That is what we needed in Indian chess for a long time. Any articulate people, which at least I used to find it very tough to find people who could talk about chess. Ramesh, you were an exception, and you know that.
Yeah, things are changing. We are a more confident young generation now than compared to, let's say, my generation of players. When I was traveling to Europe, we always had this lingering insecurity within ourselves. We did not feel very comfortable with many things, and it probably showed in the way we deal with the media and so on. But yes, this is a generation who are extremely ambitious and who are very self-assured, self-confident, and they believe they are good, they can be champions, and they belong at the top. So they don't feel like reason to avoid the media or feel threatened to express their views. But I'm sure all these youngsters, they are also getting used to this kind of attention, and I'm sure they will be able to date in a professional way without letting it affect their sporting performances.
Sir, we are heading towards the end of this interaction. I know that Ramesh sir, you said that you don't like to predict or something of that sort. But if you had to pick, I'm including both World Championship, Zhongyi versus Zhongyi, Ding Liren versus Gukesh. If you have to pick your favorites, can you just pick one from both championship
No,
games?
as you already mentioned, like I don't believe in predictions. My philosophy is simple: whoever plays well in that event, they deserve to win. And even when I was in the Chess Base India channel, during the penultimate round or in the 12th round, I believe, like when they asked the same question, like I was telling, like whoever plays well deserves to be the winner. So personally, I would want my student to do well. Having said that, that's a given. I would expect both the challengers will have a better chance than the deserving defending world champion. Both men and women.
Rakesh sir, any concluding words?
Yeah, I think, see, if you ask an Indian whether Gukesh is going to win or, like Ding Liren, what do you expect? I mean, everybody would say Gukesh for a certain reason. And see, I'm going to back Gukesh for one reason, that I think he's far more inspired, he's motivated, he knows what it will, like bring to him. And probably he'll be able to handle the pressure of expectations. And for that, again, deep down, I feel that the tournament should not be held in India. That's what I feel, having seen Anand suffer during those days, because for him to make a comeback was so difficult. So I'm still looking at the like the rear view mirror of my life, looking at 2013 and saying this. But then again, if we just hope and pray that Gukesh is able to handle it, then of course let's have it here in India and see him win. But about the other match, I think, again, Tan looks solid, but that's a very tough one for me to call, because I've always respected Ju for, the way she has played. She's pretty solid. And the way she defended the crown last time around by beating Lee, that was also quite solid. So there it is. There it will be 50-50 for me. Very tough for me to call. But here, of course, I'll give Gukesh the edge.
Okay, with this, we'll end this podcast. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time, and it was lovely hearing your insights.
Thank you, Mayank.
Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Rakesh.